On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks have a formula now. They're going to go with a two big lineup, but can it work long term? Answer that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm here because I have to be here.
Explain yourself.
Sorry.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the two big brother, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Slightly's back again.
Feeling good.
And the post-game prodigy, not during a post-game, from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Feeling good after this week off, ready to lock in for the final stretch.
He back. 26 games. That's it. We got to lock in.
Wow. 26. That's
What's
crazy.
been the highlight of your past week?
I mean, I haven't really done anything. I just played basketball, chilled, got to Platinum and Marble Rivals.
Dude, is that game like good? I've thought
really
about
good.
it.
Do you like Overwatch?
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Luka's gone. He doesn't have to pretend to care about Overwatch anymore.
I like more slow-paced games, and that looks pretty fast-paced.
Yeah, I mean, I still got a little youth in me when it comes to the games.
Today's episode, we'll get into if Kyrie Irving knew something that we don't, or knows something, because he said we're getting healthy at the right time on ESPN the other day. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about when healthy, where do the Mavs actually stack up in the rest of the NBA. But let's start here, gentlemen. One of the big questions the Dallas Mavericks have now is building around a team that's not Luka. And I think we kind of already have the answer. The Mavs have been trying to build around Luka for, 6 years at this point. And now this team is going to be built around and Anthony Davis plus a lively Gafford. Obviously, Kyrie is leading the way from the guard position, but they have this two big lineup and this two big formula now. And what the big question that the Mavs are going to have is, all right, can we zig while everybody else is zagging, or zag when everybody else is zigging here? Because not a lot of teams are employing this two big lineup. A team that was doing that, the Timberwolves last year, made it to the Western Conference Finals, got beaten 5 games, and then decided to completely go off of it. Maybe that was for some financial reasons. But Isaac, I'll start with you. Is the two big lineup a winning formula for the Mavs?
I think it's time will tell, right? I mean, when your general manager cites Cleveland with Mobley and Allen, you don't really see that too often. I feel like whenever after you make a big trade, you're like, hey, that's what we're kind of going for, and you point at another current team in the league. But then in that, I mentioned this the other day about I was watching these breakdowns on Boston, really entertaining it a little bit more this season. These two big lineups for them, and you're like, all right, is the trend reversing back, or is this just a kind of flash in the pan thing? I was doing some research on it before this podcast, and I found this article, this analytics kind of piece, and they've broken down like 6'10". Or more players in a lineup and those combos and the starting units over the years. And in the 2022-23 season, it was just a few seasons ago, there were just 5 teams that used that style. And I wonder now what that looks like now. And even we saw like what Minnesota did last year with Towns and Gobert. Now we're seeing, success. I mean, they made it to Western Conference Finals. We see the success that Cleveland's having, Boston at times. Is this like a new wave now? And did they hop on it at the beginning phases of that? Or is it just a temporary thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting point. I think that we've seen teams move towards getting bigger, but it's more positional size than it is going like two bigs. It's more so, we want to have big forwards. We want our guards to be big. We just want to have size all over the court. And, interestingly enough, you talk about the Timberwolves last year. Their best grouping from their 3 bigs, if you want to count Naz Reid, was Naz Reid and Gobert.
Yeah.
Instead of Cat and Gobert, although Cat and Gobert was good as well. But I think it speaks a little bit to the spacing. It's all just a theory at this point. We don't really know because the Mavericks are approaching it differently than even like the Cavs, I would say, in the sense that you already know for a fact you're not getting a floor spacer in Dereck Lively. Like that's maybe we could wish and dream upon a star there, but the reality is he's not spacing the floor.
The 3 ball is coming. It's just
That's
like winter. It's like winter.
Cato told me that it's the summer of the Dereck Lively 3 ball. I guess we'll have to. We'll
He
see
said,
about
he said that this summer, or did he say that last summer? Or
Cato. It might have been someone else. Let me not put words into someone's mouth.
Put words in Tim's mouth. That's fine.
Yeah, put words in. But I heard from somebody. Somebody told me that this is the summer of the Dereck Lively 3. Which, okay, I guess I'll believe that when I see it.
Wait, didn't Dereck Lively say that this past summer?
Yeah, they did say it this past summer. I have given up on the Dereck Lively 3 ball dream. I think he could be a phenomenal. I don't, there's not. It's not like he's a great free throw shooter. It's not like he has a mid range shot. Like it's hard to kind of really project that in any serious way. But I think he's still a tremendous player with or without the 3 ball. But it's going to be interesting because you're going to really heavily rely on PJ Washington knocking down threes. Like that's going to become this massive swing factor for you in these lineups because Kyrie will space the floor. We know that. Clay will space the floor. We know that. Christie will space the floor if he's out there. We know that. PJ has been knocking down threes this season, and those threes are going to become a lot more important for him because you're going to have 2 bigs on the court who aren't really floor spacers. Although, AD does attract the defense's attention. It's not like they're just leaving him alone. So I think it could work. Honest to God, I do think it could work with Lively.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the combos that have worked, even you look at like Milwaukee starting Brook Lopez alongside Giannis, you got to have at least, if one of those guys can't shoot the 3, the other one definitely has to.
Yeah.
And so for like Cleveland, Mobley can, AD can, Dereck Lively's your guy that's going to be your roller, and right now can hit that 3. But you also got to have the ability to be able to switch on the perimeter. Like that's the 2 thing. Like you can't have 2 guys on the floor that both can't shoot. You can't have 2 guys on the floor. Honestly, in today's game, 1 guy on the floor that can't switch out on the perimeter, or else they're going to get exposed. And this is where Gobert was really good at switching. Some people think he just gets torched all the time, and he has these highlights in which he does. But he
only watched Mavs games, you'd think that.
Yeah,
but he is really good at switching, as a big. So, and that's what makes the potential of this Dallas lineup when healthy of like Anthony Davis. We're talking defensive player of the year type guy. We're talking Dereck Lively of like, man, is he a future defensive player of the year guy? This is the area before the injury that I thought he has improved on, is being able to switch on the perimeter and hold his ground some, because we know he can protect the paint. So which one of those guys is going to be like the center fielder that's going to be coming over the help side? AD loves being the help side guy to come over. Lively likes being that guy too. I mean, they're both going to do that in the paint. That's one of the most anticipated things that I'm looking forward to. And the PJ factor in it of now that third, the third guy being a 6'10" guy. And I'm like, man, how many times do you get that? I mean, Minnesota has that with, McDaniels. You can go all the way back to like OKC and, look at like Perkins, Ibaka, KD. Like how many teams are rolling out there the 3 guys at 6'10" or above lineups, and they're just going with size because size matters.
It's unfortunately true.
It is. And I think a lot of it is going to stem on PJ now because his role changes a little bit. Like you said, he's got to be more of a knockdown 3-point shooter. But I think as long as that second guy can handle the ball a little, you have to be a threat in multiple ways. If you're going to play 2 bigs like that. You mentioned like all the examples you mentioned, even, the Mobley, Jared Allen. Mobley has become a threat in multiple ways now. He can beat you a bunch of different ways. Giannis obviously can beat you in a bunch of different ways. Anthony Davis can now come in and do that. We've seen it for the Mavericks in just 30 minutes, but still we saw the different ways that he can beat you. He can run a pick and roll. He threw a lob to Gafford in one of the first plays of the game. Like that's something where he can be a threat and make sure that the 2 bigs is an advantage. I think sometimes with the KD lineups, like those when he has to play the 4 or even now the 5 with the Suns, it doesn't become an advantage anymore because you're not really using that height besides just rising up and shooting, which is what KD's great at. But the size has to be an advantage in a bunch of other ways. And I think these 2 guys, Lively and AD, and then Gafford as well, can make it an advantage with rebounding, rim protection, and all that.
You think Jason Kidd's gonna look at it and be like, all right, what from the Dirk Tyson combo can I use with this AD Lively combo? Or Nico's like, hey, you saw it and you played with that combo. Try to recreate it here on offense.
He just suits back up and he's like, let me go back out there.
I mean, the concerning thing for me there is Dirk. I mean, is an all-time great shooter, obviously, floor spacer. You look at the two big lineups, like the Celtics you mentioned are utilizing that more. They have Kristaps Porzingis, who can space the floor from 30 feet, and Horford, who can still shoot threes and is somebody that defenses have to at least respect. Like, AD hasn't been a good 3-point shooter really his whole career outside of the bubble. Yeah. And I mean, Lively and Gafford are just not threats. So that's where I become a little bit concerned with the offense, and where I do start to say, I'll believe it when I see it with the two bigs. That's what I'll believe it when I see it, that's something they're going to roll out all the time. Like, that might start a game, that might start a half. If that's the closing group, I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, that's the key to me. Coming up, the key to all this is they're going to have an identity, but then they're also going to have a go-to lineup, and they'll have a go-to thing that's going to make them win. And we'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every player that drops 50 or more in a game, you score huge deals the next day on Dash Pass. It's simple. When a player scores 50 points or more in a game during the 2024-25 season, whether it's for your team or against your team, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. There's all kinds of ways you can take advantage of the deal, fueling your watch parties. So if you're getting a bunch of people together to watch potentially a fan favorite player play against your team that got traded recently, you can have a watch party, and you can plan for that. You can get DoorDash delivered right to you, snacks, meals, discounts, whatever you want with that. If a player scores 50 the night before, you can take advantage of that deal. Then sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order the next day, up to $10 off. Use the promo code NBA50. NBA, then the number 5, the number 0, from noon to midnight after a 51 game on eligible orders. On participating merchants must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash.com to learn more.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We've got lots of ways to follow the show. We've got the newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter, Locked On Daily. We've got the Locked On Mavs text line. You can text us. Text the number 214-643-8637. Help support the show, and you get up-to-date info on the Dallas Mavericks, including the Mavs signing Moses Brown to a 10-day contract. He's the key to the Mavs' 2-big lineup.
We're back. 3 big.
Papa Doe Brown.
Any quick thoughts on Moses Brown? You happy to have him back, Isaac?
Yeah, thrilled. Super talented guy. If you're going for a date night in Dallas, he recommends going out to Papa Doe's. That's what he told us at media day years ago. No, I mean, he's just not a good player. I'm sorry. Is he better than Kyler Kelly? Sure. But
I would say yes. I haven't been uber impressed in the Kyler Kelly.
So there was a couple like conspiracies after this. After there's
what?
That either the Mavs think that Dwight Powell is coming back sooner than later, so they did a 10-day instead of like trying to sign somebody.
Well, aren't they not? I mean, we've talked about this before, and I've looked at Mavs CBA. They can't outright sign somebody to like a legit contract, can they?
They can't sign anybody until March 31st with a vet minimum contract. You can only do 10. So the 10-day contract takes them
delays that
out of that. Like, now they got to push it back further than March 31st. I mean, one, if you're trying to form conspiracy theories off of a Moses Brown 10-day, then
there's no games. There's no games. We got to do something.
Go play Ultimate Frisbee in the park. But yeah, I don't think it like affects too much. Yeah.
Another conspiracy off of, it's not really conspiracy. It's just kind of a theory. I guess these are more of a theory. Kyrie sat down with Malika Andrews of ESPN recently. I had some really good things to say about the front office. I thought some really thoughtful things to say about the Luka trade and all that kind of stuff. But he also talked about the AD ad, and he said we had how many minutes, and everybody saw it was just a microcosm of the impact AD makes. Also having Gaff, the potential of D Live with PJ, who's emerging as a star in the league. Max Christie, he talked about how excited he was to play with that group. And he also said, we're getting healthy at the right time. No matter who we got in, we've got to take care of this. Gentlemen, let's play the game. Slightly, is this something or nothing?
I would say nothing PR speak from Kyrie Irving, just to be honest.
Isaac, something or nothing?
I say it's a little something. It would be kind of weird if he says we're getting healthy at the right time, and he's just talking about like PJ coming back post All-Star break. It feels like somebody has to be, I don't know, coming back at some point. I mean, unless it's just Dwight Powell has that much impact.
Is it not possible that he was kind of implying, hey, by the time the playoffs get here, like AD will probably be back and Lively will probably be back?
We get healthy by the playoffs, like literally.
That's kind of how I interpret it.
Because what does that mean? Like, what does the right time mean? Because I would think the right time is now to go on a run and then go to the playoffs, but that's obviously not happening.
I think Kyrie has been great since this trade. All of his answers have just been fantastic. He's really been the only person inside the organization who hasn't put their foot in the mouth every time that he opens up his mouth to speak about this trade. And I feel like this is more just kind of, hey, we're gonna be all right. Like we'll get healthy, and by the time the playoffs get here, hopefully we'll be healthy. That's how I interpret it. I don't think Kyrie would know. Honestly, I really don't.
Yeah, maybe it was like, hey, we're getting healthy by the right time. I don't know.
That's how I interpreted it. That he was like, by the time the playoffs get here, we'll be all right. I hope.
The quote felt so hopeful to me and so like assured, like, oh, we're gonna get healthy at the right time. And maybe he's just going off of like yesterday we talked about what are the timelines for all the injuries, right? And so the ADs could be 4 weeks, which would put him in at like mid-March. And if that's mid-March, then that to me would be the right time. Okay, getting healthy. They are getting PJ back. They should get, Martin back. Almost said Cody Martin. They're getting Caleb Martin back right after the All-Star break, probably.
Or maybe he's getting the like copium that we're all getting. Like to Slightly's point, maybe he doesn't know anything, and he's just like he's kind of going off these timelines that's been thrown out. It's like, dude, AD could be back mid-March. We're trying all the stuff. Dwight at some point. Let's see what Gaff's knee looks like by the end of. And maybe he's just like riding that of like, hey, we're getting healthy, just having the hope in it. I mean, he's the only one that's given people hope for the most part.
Kyrie's dipping into the copium.
Yes, that was how I interpreted it. Honestly,
yeah.
I hope that there's something he knows that we don't. But
I mean, he's also not going to go the opposite direction either and be like, yeah, this season's kind of like sunk.
Yeah, we had to bring in Moses Brown. Like
that's what Jason Kidd did the other day when Kyler Kelly got brought in. Right? He was like, well, we didn't really have a lot of options, so we brought in this guy.
He's like, did y'all know Kyler Kelly before I did? No, I mean, so.
I think there's a reason why Kidd took a post-game press conference off. I think he's just kind of reached wits end.
They took a media session off from practice today.
Really?
All right, we're not going to do any media availability. So
that second part of the quote, no matter who's in, we got to take care of this, is the embodiment of what we talked about yesterday, Isaac, with just Kyrie has this opportunity now to lead this underdog group. They're not going to have any bigs. They're going to have to play really small, and they've got to take that mentality into the rest of this game. And I loved hearing that from him.
Yes. What was the question? Yes.
No matter who's in, we've got to take care of this. It was like more of a comment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything rests on AD's injury, right? Like, I mean, if it comes out that he's out for the season, then yeah, I mean, immediately it's like, I think you do immediately have the tank conversation at that point. But if there's still, hope there's a chance that he can come back, then your goal right now is to hold the ship afloat. Like you try to stay and not lose a lot of ground in the standings, because there's a lot of teams behind you that are win now and they're not trying to go down either. I mean, so you got more teams behind you that are ready to win more basketball games. So you kind of just got to scrap and keep it together.
Yeah, and I think that's Kyrie's dealing with the back injury. Like he's just looking at this and saying, we just got to go out there every night, do what we do, and hopefully guys come back. Like I just think that was hopeful thinking copium from Kyrie, just because he's out there with the back injury. That's probably not comfortable for him. And the alternative, like Isaac said, if AD's out for a long time, I mean, you really do have to consider
the next 30
games.
Listen, I am a huge Kyrie fan these past 2 years in Dallas, and he's keeping the Mavs afloat right now. Also, who is like number one superhero for Mavs fans right now? Kyrie Irving. He goes No, I talked to Mavs man the other night. My first.
Did he tell you he listens to the show?
He did.
He does.
Yeah.
He's part of the Raccoon Squad.
He didn't talk.
I've always avoided him at all costs.
Wow, you just broke that childlike wonder from me. You just stole it from me.
he like caught eyes. I mean, I couldn't see his eyes because of the mask, and then it was like in the tunnels underneath, and we just like walked up, and he was like, "Dude, big fan of the show." Blah blah blah. I was like, "I don't know who you are, but thanks."
Just every kid that he ever looked at and like said, "I don't talk," like did the motion, like now just their hearts got broken.
Yeah,
But-
thanks.
But listen real quick.
Didn't talk to me.
The Kyrie, especially, I saw this could just be my mind being like skewed on some stuff, but
Probably.
I saw the interview with him with, on TV, and who was that with again?
Malika Andrews.
With Malika. And, we obviously saw the All-Star game and having a lot of fun and with the guys and all this stuff. I mean, the positivity right now is just like on the up and up for Kyrie. And as soon as that trade happened, the leverage, I mean, just skyrocketed for Kyrie next contract.
Yep.
So what even helps you even more with that is just like continuing to show that like you are the like I have the cape and mask on as the like savior of Gotham City here. Like I am that guy. And you do that by being even more like he's become the spokesperson for the Mavericks and he's saying these right things. And I think they're all genuine. I'm not trying to say that like it's not like genuine at all. I'm not saying that at all because I love Kyrie Irving. He's one of my favorite Mavericks, but I would be doing the same thing as him too. I'm like, dude, I'm going to ride this momentum, this personal momentum right now with the All-Star, limelight, the set down interview, saying the right things and all this stuff. And I have all the leverage. Like it's looking good heading into this offseason for Kyrie right now.
It's looking good for Kyrie. Looks good for the Mavericks if they're all going to be healthy. Where do they stack up in the rest of the West and the NBA going forward? Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. The game tipped off. NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, gentlemen. We've got some odds going here. We've got Mavs Lakers on the 25th. That's the big game people are talking about.
Let's go.
Lakers by 7. Anybody willing to take those odds?
What is that? Next week? That's next week. Wow.
Yeah, the 25th. It's like in 5 days.
Are we going to be on the court at that point in time? I really don't know.
Depends. It really depends. We're fans of the Ringer, and the Ringer has Ringer specials right now on FanDuel to make the Western Conference playoffs. Clippers -450, Timberwolves -420, Warriors -132, Mavericks +126, Suns +310, Kings +320. You guys taking any of those?
No.
The Mavs, you want to take the Mavs +126?
Sure. Yeah, give it to me.
You take that one. Right now, if you put down $5 and you win, the Mavs make the playoffs on that one, you get $150 in bonus bets to join today. Go to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. At your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. Official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home! Welcome to Dallas, a city in turmoil.
Oh, God.
All right, Isaac. All right, slightly. The Dallas Mavericks, when healthy, this has been the statement for the Mavericks all season, and now it is that same statement in a different way. When healthy, where do the Mavericks stack up? Let's just start with the Western Conference. Mavs healthy, where do you stack them up? Everybody's playing a playoff series or something like that.
I'll put them as a top 3 team in the West pretty comfortably, I would say, when healthy. I do think this is a really good basketball team. I do think their ceiling, like just having Luka on your team raises your ceiling just because, you have a guy who can go out there and score 40 or 50 points in a playoff game no matter what. But I do think they're going to be great defensively when they're healthy. I think you'll get enough offensively just overall from AD and Kyrie to win a lot of basketball games. It just comes down to some of, when the games really come down to crunch time in a deep playoff run, do you have enough offense to make it through there? But I would only really feel comfortable putting the Thunder and just the Nuggets because they're playing really well lately. Jamal Murray looks better and Jokic is having an unbelievable season. Like I would really only feel comfortable putting those teams ahead of the healthy Mavericks, but I don't know if you're going to see a healthy Mavericks team this year, just realistically speaking.
Isn't there a thing about AD playing Jokic too? Like AD has not beat Jokic like much at all.
Well, he was on the Lakers, so the Nuggets just lick their chops when when the Lakers walk in the building.
But they led in a lot of that series. Have you guys seen
True.
those people going back and be like the Lakers led in like 100 minutes and the Nuggets only led in 30 minutes of the series, but they swept them or something.
I don't think that stat shows what those people think it shows.
It's such an impressive competitive sweep.
Yeah. When Horsey was the most competitive sweep he's ever seen
of all time.
Awesome. God, love that, man. I did a show a while back. It feels like, gosh, a month or so ago, of like one of the things you can ride for the Mavericks going into the postseason. This is obviously pre-trade. Was the confidence of like you've seen them do it. Like you've seen this group do it before. They beat the Timberwolves last year. They beat OKC last year in the playoffs. They know their core. They know how everybody plays together. You have the superstar and Luka. Like you have all the pieces, and they've been there, done that. So you can have that confidence compared to some of these other teams of, hey, like, all right, Houston, haven't really been there, done that with this group. The Lakers, they kind of did it at some point, with AD and LeBron. The Clippers kind of newer group. Timberwolves traded Cat. So I was like kind of going down through there and being like, all right, a bunch of these teams have kind of like a question mark of like, can we do it in the playoffs? But Dallas was one of them that had. Well, now Dallas is in that other group because we haven't seen the two big lineup in the playoffs. We haven't seen AD and Kyrie in that combo. We can be confident in it, but it's just a little bit of the confidence down a little bit of, and the fact that they're not going to have a lot of breathing room before the playoffs to figure out some of the kinks in it. And be like, all right, we kind of got to figure it out on the fly. And make it work if they're all healthy going into the playoffs. But to Slightly's point, I trust kind of the star power in it, that if AD is healthy, and let's just say you get like Lively back and maybe not Gafford for that first round or something, and it's like PJ still, doing what he's doing, Max Christie, it's hard not to say like, all right, you're going against Houston. It's hard not to feel confident going into a series like that. Memphis would be fast.
Houston as the only team the Mavs have beaten because when they're healthy because they played them.
True.
Yeah. Memphis would be fast. I just don't know what to think of Memphis in the playoffs. I don't know when Ja's playing and all of that, but it's like that would, be a fun series. I have no clue about what it means, what the OKC matchup even looks like now, because we've had Luka forever that torches him. And now it's like, well, what does it look like, when you face OKC now? So, but I'm with Slightly. If they're fully healthy, you're looking at the Western Conference. I personally can't be convinced that there is another team outside of OKC and probably Denver that I would be like, yeah, they're for sure beating the Mavs in 5 games.
The AD against the Nuggets thing, back to 2022, back through 2022. So since 2021, the Lakers and Anthony Davis, when Anthony Davis plays, are 3-14 against the Nuggets.
I mean, that's crazy. But Jamal Murray turns into
Jamal Murray versus Kyrie in a playoff series would be a lot of fun. The only caveat to that Lakers thing is now with AD, you have, potentially, I mean, we're doing the what if they're healthy, Gafford and Lively with him. So now you have a guy that's coming over the top playing help defense. That's a 7-footer shot blocker. If AD's guarding Jokic, or vice versa, and AD's coming over for the help on Jokic. Now you have 2 7-footers going against. I mean, this is what Minnesota honestly tried to build their team around to beat, the Nuggets. And it kind of worked, right? And then they abandoned it. So,
yeah, I mean, the formula is there. It's just the other aspect that the Timberwolves had is they could space the floor with their bigs, and that put Jokic in some very compromised positions.
Yeah.
So that it all really comes back to that for me with the Mavs. Like you said, if they played the Clippers in round 1, I mean, the Clippers are a really good basketball team, but I'm not sitting there looking at it and saying, oh man, I just don't see a way the Mavs beat the Clippers in this series, or the Rockets, like you said. The Lakers, it just becomes, is Luka going to lose that series? Like that's what it turns into for me. Like realistically, is Luka Doncic going to lose that series?
Oh no, I would actually be pretty confident going against the Lakers if we're fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean the size would just be kind of an overwhelming thing at some point for that team, but it is just game 3. The series is tied. It's an American Airlines Center, and a 2-point game and Luka's bringing the ball off the floor. How are we feeling in that situation?
Oh well, that would suck. Yeah, that would suck.
It is a weird Western Conference right now where there's just so many unproven teams. Even the Thunder, they haven't been past the second round. And I mean, they're this juggernaut team, but
like the Warriors are a completely new look team. The Lakers are a completely new look team. I know that they're on a hot stretch, but so many of these teams completely changed their identity just a couple weeks ago. So,
well, even the Timberwolves with Randall instead of Cat, like that's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a different team. The Kings, Fox, and Levine swap. I mean, their teams have just changed all over the place.
Yeah. So it is a weird conference this year.
The Mavs getting Moses Brown.
True.
Bradley
it's funny
Beal.
that Phoenix has just slipped so far that we don't even bring them up in a conversation like this.
I know. You still just looking at the standings, and it's like right now Phoenix and the Spurs set at 11 and 12, and there's just a couple games. The difference between those guys, and what's the I don't think San Antonio can catch Dallas. That's a 5-game difference. I mean, Dallas would really have to play Moses Brown a lot, but Phoenix is we're cracking some jokes, but Moses Brown's probably gonna catch like 8 lobs in his against New Orleans or
that'd be sick.
I don't even know
who.
Isaac, he's just 3 years and 9 months removed from a 24-18 game that he had. Do you know that?
Wow.
I feel like there's been like 4 teams that's been like, dude, Moses Brown, young, 7-2. Have you seen these plus minus numbers?
That was I saw Indiana fans this year. They're like, this Moses Brown guy. Like I've kind of watched his dunk highlights on YouTube, and now I'm sold.
Let's play a quick game of
Rick's like, nope.
Which teams did Moses Brown play for since he played for the Mavericks in 2021?
I can't play this game because I'm on his basketball reference right now.
All right, Isaac.
Pacers.
Which teams Pacers was the last one.
Clippers
was
He had Blazers maybe.
Blazers last year. Yep. Played 22 games. Started 5 of them. Ugh.
I don't know the other team at all.
There's a 2-game 6-minute stint with another team.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Oh,
and then
no
he
way.
left the Mavericks for the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2022.
Oh gosh, I forgot.
Yep.
The Cleveland, Clippers, Brooklyn, Portland, Pacers. He's played for 5 teams since he played for the Mavericks, and now he's back.
Good for him, though, man.
I mean, dude, yes, he's kind of like the new Bruno Caboclo. That's the thing about the East. It's like the East feels like so top heavy and like really good teams in those top ones. Where if like you squeaked into like if we were in the West or in the East and we squeaked into the bottom, it's like I don't know if we're having a shot at some of these top teams in the East. The West, I think, has more good teams in the conference. There's just not a lot of like difference in a lot of groups outside of OKC.
Yeah, and I mean, if you end up being the 7th seed or something, Grizzlies round 1, and then winner of the Nuggets would be tough, but winner of like a Nuggets Clippers series round 2, you could start to talk yourself into a run if you're healthy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, right now it'd be Houston and the Lakers in the 4-5 matchup. Would that be the most favored the 5 seeds ever been in the?
That would be an interesting series too.
That's wild. Yeah, because that Houston team, they have like the 27th rated half court offense.
Yeah,
it's wild. They're
Brooks
very
piss
bad.
Them all off
like that. Well, yeah,
they need a guy.
Yeah,
they need a guy to emerge.
Yeah,
we have had a guy emerge. It's Kyrie. He's the leader of the Dallas Mavericks. We'll continue to talk about him throughout the rest of this week. We'll have a post-game show. Slightly and I will be on there talking about the Mavs against the Pelicans. We'll be back Friday night, Mavs home game. So we'll be back there. Isaac will have us on the newsletter each day. You can subscribe to that, lockedondaily.com. Guys,
listen to the show yesterday with Ben Swanger from the D Magazine.
It's great stuff there.
Good show.
Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.